Okay, hello. My name is Konrad Wojtowicz, and today I am hosting again the international debate on myPolitics channel. And today we have a pleasure and honor to meet the members of the European Youth Parties, Jekab Skalis Rasnats from Movement for Youth from Latvia,
Hello.
Hans Karel Les from the Estonian Reform Party Youth,
Hello.
and Marketa Plesnikova from Mladé Ano from Czechia. Yeah, you are muted. Just you can.
Yeah, sorry. Sunday afternoon. So good afternoon, everybody.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. The topic of today's debate is EU-American relations, and there are of course some tensions between the US and the EU during Trump's presidency. So the first question is, how do you assess these relations between European Union and United States of America during the previous Trump's presidency? And the first speaker would be Jekab Skalis Rasnats. The floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you. Basically, I would say that his unpredictability and this America First policy had shaken the post-World War II global order and strained the relations between the Western allies. And despite of that, it was good in 2018, of course, when President Donald Trump, together with the UK Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, said this criticism to Germany for supporting the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. But otherwise, President Donald Trump's unabashed unilateralism and also protectionist policies has hurt EU and US relations, and he has. We can also remember that he has called the European Union a foe and worse than China, just smaller. And also he celebrated Brexit and has encouraged other member states to leave the bloc, and he has bullied democratic leaders such as Angela Merkel and embraced autocrats like Viktor Orban. And the latter has not helped the EU institutions in their search for supranational mechanisms to enforce compliance with the rule of law conditions for membership. So we can see that we have lots of struggles today in the EU as well. And Trump's retreat from the Paris climate deal, the intermediate range nuclear forces treaty, and the open skies agreement and the World Health Organization, as well as his attacks against the WTO, have hurt the relations, because as we know, the US was the power who established the liberal international order, which was meant that every country in the world would participate in these international organizations. And suddenly Trump was the first president to leave something what the US had begun many years ago. So, and this protectionist policy has hurt also the status of the US itself when it comes like to global superpowers. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. And the second speaker would be Hans Karel Les from Estonia. The floor is yours.
Yes, there were many things said that I totally agree with. There was definitely a lot of chaos surrounding Trump's presidency, mostly at the beginning coming from his America First agenda that he pushed during the election. I remember when he was elected, there was a lot of discussion surrounding his views on Europe, because he was a total newcomer to politics at that time. So there was a lot of discussion as how would he support Europe? Will he stay in NATO and stuff like that? There were a lot of discussions surrounding that. Also, another thing that was very dominant during his time as president was that he really liked to be more friendly with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, and I think that was a big slap to our faces in Eastern European countries, as America was always our so to say protector, and to see our big friend embrace our big enemy was definitely something that we were not happy to see. Also, of course, his support of Brexit. He helped, thanks to his conservative views, many conservative parties in Europe had much success in the last years. Even in Estonia, currently the most popular party here is the Estonian Conservative People's Party, that has took a lot of inspiration from Trump. So that's also a thing that has come with the last 4 years. Also, when I mentioned Russia before, is that he turned much focus on China actually instead of Russia, and you can't really blame him for that, since the world is changing and China has become a global dominant force to be reckoned with. So he would turn his focus on China more than Russia, and that was obviously more bad for us. So yeah, that's my case.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. And the last speaker answering this question would be Markéta Plesníková from Czechia. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, basically, most of the points were already said. How I would assess the relation under Trump with Europe or European Union, I think we can call it like trauma, because we've seen from one day to another that something that was built for previous 75 years under different presidents of the United States was shaken by one person, by Donald Trump. And I think we also can look at it from the more positive side, I think, because as the partnership was really shaken and it was put to the test, we as Europeans have to suddenly think differently about our alliance with the United States. And we started more looking to each other and started talking about our own sovereignty, especially when it comes to security issues, or, for example, with our relation with China, which was one of the most dividing topics, I think, when it comes to our relationship with United States. And also it shows us somehow that our reliance on the partnership, or that we take it for granted, so that the US will always be our partner, it was somehow unhealthy. And now I think we will talk about it later. Now we have chance to somehow reassess the relation. But again, when it comes to Trump with all of his steps, and especially when he called, as my previous speakers mentioned, the European Union or European states foes, I think it mostly comes from his, let's say, businessman sense that he does not have any friends or allies, only rivals. And he saw European Union as a rival. And again, as it was mentioned, he was more comfortable dealing with some autocrats than his democratic allies. And I think he left a scar on the relationship that cannot be really healed, that we cannot simply say now with the Biden, we will go to our pre-Trump era, because I think there is no going back, that he made so heavy impact on the whole relation with the European Union, also when it comes to world order and so on. We cannot go back as it used to be, and we have to rethink it again, our relations, not only with United States.
Thank you. And this concludes the first issue of our today's debate. So we can move to the second question about the alliance, the European alliance with the USA. Do you think that the European Union should stick to its close ties with America? And if so, in what matters mainly, whether economic ties or military ties or simply diplomatic ties? And the first speaker would be Hans Karel Less from Estonia. The floor is yours.
Well, yeah, first of all, yes, definitely, we should stick close to the EU. The EU has been, the USA. We should stick close to the USA. They have been our allies for many, many years during the Cold War, etc. But what we have learned from Trump is that we cannot get too close, and that's what matters mainly. We have to think with a clear head. We cannot just trust the USA completely now. We know that the tides are shifting. Like currently, it's looking more positively under Biden's administration. But you have to remember, currently, Democrats are not doing too well in the US in terms of ratings. There is the midterm elections are coming up right next year. So that means right now, Democrats are looking like they will lose the Senate majority. And maybe in 4 years, Biden Democrats will lose the White House. So who knows, maybe in 4 years, Trump will come back, and we have to be prepared for that as well. So we cannot get too close, but we still have to keep the relationship going. Yeah, that's my case.
Thank you very much. Now, Marketa Plesnikova, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think definitely we should stay close to our allies. I still see United States as our main ally, and I think we should stay shoulder to shoulder, not behind the US or behind its back, also to show that we can do things sometimes our own way, as for example, our relation with China, where we have, I think, different approach than the US administration. And I think we should stick to cooperation in all dimensions. So when it comes to economic ties, political or security ties, and we should definitely have the relation really transparent and more predictable than it was under Trump. Still, I think there is chance that Biden will do differently. But when we look at some of his steps, there's still some, let's say, like doubts that he is continuing in Trump's policy, but in different way. That it's not America first, still America is back, but it isn't as open as I think most of the European politicians and academics thought it will be when we saw the Biden's presidential elections and so on. And I think what is also most important thing that America needs to heal itself first, because as my previous speaker said, there will be midterm elections. And also when we look at the huge blow to the social divisions that Trump has left in America's society, and overall with the pandemic going on, there's still like a chance that for US, the foreign policy overall is not as important as it used to be. And also we as European states also should somehow heal ourselves, because, the era of Angela Merkel has ended. We will have a presidential election in France next year. So we should still first look at our domestic issues. And if we will be strong enough and united, then we can still think about really strong and intensive cooperation with our transatlantic allies.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last person in this topic, Jekabs Karlis Rasnas from Latvia. The floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that we still stick close to our alliance with the US when it comes to values, economy, and foreign policy, and all the values that we share in liberal democracy, as well as the liberal international order, which entails international cooperation through our multilateral institutions. Like International Monetary Fund, WTO, and the United Nations, and is constituted by human equality, freedom, rule of law, and human rights, open market, security, cooperation, promotion of liberal democracy, and monetary cooperation. And we have to remember that the order was established in the aftermath of World War II, led in large part by the United States, and it should continue to be played by it. And during the Trump era, as I already previously mentioned, US almost lost its position on it. yeah, but let's hope that the Biden will change the way it goes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And this also concludes the second part of our debate. And regarding the third next question, we should think more about the economic and military cooperation between the EU and the US. In specific, these two areas are very crucial in a way for the European Union as well as America, since European Union can be a strong ally for economic and military policies of the US and vice versa. What do you think about this issue, the military and economic cooperation and EU-US relations? And the first speaker, Markéta Plesníková from Czechia.
Thank you. Well, I think now we have, let's say, at least 4-year window to somehow rethink our relation with the US and all our standing on a global scale. And I think it's really once in a generation opportunity. And basically, I think we should really cooperate on everything. And especially when we look, for example, at NATO. NATO itself, I think, needs some kind of reform or rethinking the strategic alliance, because there are many novel challenges facing the world. For example, in the cyberspace or crisis management, as we saw at what happened in Afghanistan. Or also climate change has a great impact on basically everything we are doing. And I think nowadays, we should definitely stick to the partnership and make it more than like just for me, it seems sometimes like a pebble that you are only kicking on the way because you are used to it. And it's no longer anything as bedrock as it used to be. So there are many opportunities, I think, where we should work together more with the US, and especially there are some digital opportunities. And I think one of the great example is Trade and Technology Council between United States and European Union, that is basically focusing on innovations and cyber technology and so on. And also, I think we should more work together on some challenges, strategic challenges that are posed by China. But really, we as a Europe should always say that we are not to be taken for granted, that sometimes we can have different stances and so on. But definitely we should reach as many agreements and common attitudes towards especially China or Russia and so on when it comes to working together, because when we will stick to bare railings when it comes, for example, on tariffs, we will definitely be left behind when it comes to the rising global powers.
Thank you very much. And now Jakub Skaris-Rasnats from Latvia.
Yeah, I do agree with Markéta that during the Biden era, we can see well-established economic cooperation increasing. And on this November, the United States and the EU took a step toward a closer alliance. What also Markéta said, that announcing this new partnership for trade and technology. But tensions over a wide variety of strategic and economic issues are still simmering in the background, unfortunately, because of the Trump era. And and this establishment of the Trade and Technology Council, which aims to establish this united front on trade practices and sophisticated technologies. I think it will be a significant test of whether President Biden can fulfill his pledge to mitigate these transatlantic tensions that soared under the previous president. But but of course, as we know, that Biden administration has long described Europe as a natural partner in a broader economic and political way, yeah, and but when it comes like the military aspect, we see quite I would say like polarized situation right now. So how it would look ideally would be difficult to say, because we know what happened also with the Indo-Pacific strategy, that basically the US failed like to consult you about it, under which Australia canceled the blockbuster contract to buy French submarines. And then later we also saw that France, together with Germany, were quite dissatisfied with this situation when Australia, the UK, and the US was not consulting, and with France when it came like to this Indo-Pacific strategy, which was meant basically like to confront China. So I guess there are some reasons behind it, but I don't think that they are kind of public. But I think we just have to follow like the Biden policy strategies. Furthermore, I have this belief that it will get increasingly better despite of this tension, what also happened during his presidency this year. But thank you.
Thank you. And as the last speaker, Hans-Karl Less from Estonia. The floor is yours.
Yes, well, definitely, as my my colleagues described it, cooperation is the way to go. As was discussed before, Trump saw Europe as more of a foe than an ally in terms of trade and stuff. So economically, I would definitely like to see less tariffs, both on a corporate and a personal level. In military-wise, definitely with Biden, it's much more clearer that Biden likes to continue with NATO. Trump was very critical of the NATO spending, so but also you can't, if he feels that we needed to spend more, then it's up to him how much his government is willing to give out to support other countries. So yeah, cooperation, cooperation, both. I'd say NATO-wise it's good right now, but I do agree with the opinion that we need to rework the NATO systems in terms of cyber warfare and stuff like that. Also, currently there is another conflict in Europe going on within the Belarusian and Polish border. So that's a place where we need to look at. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And this finishes our third issue as well. So now the last topic of today's debate, the future of the EU-US relations in terms of the current Biden's presidency. It was mentioned before during our debate, the differences between Trump's presidency and the current Biden's policy and plans. But now let's talk more about the future and how can the US-EU relation be shaped by Biden in next years. And the first speaker would be Markéta Plesníková from Czechia. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, as I said, the Biden's time or Biden's presidency was seen as we were having high hopes for the guy that can heal our relations after Trump's. Well, I just heard one metaphor that Biden was just seen as, the quiet, cool kid who kicked the loud-mouthing bully out of the playground. But still, I think definitely the relationship is better and probably will be better. But Biden has shown us that he is also focusing on the different regions, different parts of the world. For example, his cooperation with Australia, India, Japan, and also with his more like natural allies, let's say the English-speaking countries, also when it comes to United Kingdom. And still, I think there is a great chance to revive the relation. But unfortunately, I also think that many of like politicians no longer expect the relationship to be good or really helpful to both sides. Also because there is still a chance that after this Biden's intermezzo, Trump will come back and all the things will be the same. So really, also when it comes to domestic issues that both Europe and United States are facing, I'm afraid there is no much like potential or energy to invest in really developing stable and healthy relations. But still, I think that the Biden's era or Biden's presidency is definitely more transparent. There is more willingness to cooperate, to see us as allies, not rivals. And overall, the foreign policy is more assertive than it used to be. But still, I think we have to keep in mind that the things are no longer the same or never again will be as before Trump. There will be always the Trump's shadow behind this transatlantic relation.
Okay, thank you very much. And next speaker, Hans Karles from Estonia. The floor is yours.
Yes, definitely. When Biden was elected, it was definitely a big sigh of relief for most of Europe. His big message was that America is back on the map. And I think the biggest change that has come with Biden is that we have Biden is a really old school guy in terms of politics. He has been a supporter of the EU for a long, long time. And with his presidency, he has, foreign affairs-wise, he has definitely shifted back focus more on Russia as an enemy. So that's a good thing for us, that there's a president who doesn't embrace Putin, but is against him. So that's all the good things that we can be assured of Biden, that he has our backs. So that's the good things. Now the more worrying thing is, of course, Biden's own popularity back at home, since the ratings are not doing, Democrats are not doing very well right now. So that means that Biden will have to actually focus more on his home ground rather than transatlantic relations, because if he wants to, keep the Senate control and possibly his own seat in the White House in the next 4 years, he will have to focus more on his home turf rather than transatlantic relations. So that basically means that while we can rest assured that knowing that Biden has our backs, I'm not expecting like much of a change in terms of actual policy.
Okay, thank you very much. And the concluding answer today from Jēkabs Kārlis Rasnats from Latvia.
Yeah, I think I would be more optimistic when it comes to Biden because I see an improvement on his foreign policy when it comes like to EU-American relations. And also, I think that the future would be good if he will be re-elected. And Trump has left these lasting consequences, and we can see some kind of distrust also between like intelligence services of the US and the EU nations, as in the early 2021, Danish media was reporting that the country's secret services helped American counterparts to eavesdrop like on European leaders, and the same happened with the military relations when the EU was excluded from Indo-Pacific strategy. And I mean, like EU has become closer with China during this time economically, and Biden's presidency is trying like to reverse it. And in 2021, there was this comprehensive agreement on investment between EU and China, which had not been signed in the end. And there was a push from the US, UK, and Canada in a joint action together to impose sanctions on Chinese officials who are believed to be linked to the Uyghur genocide happening in Xinjiang. And I think it's somehow like it feels like the United States is trying to reverse this protectionist policy under Biden era. But I mean, if he won't get reelected on 2024, I would be deeply concerned that a Republican majority-oriented protectionist policy will make the EU safe space for China investments, and would make also what other countries such as it the next superpower. So I just hope that he will be also re-elected in the future, and I would have the trust on Biden. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this means that our debate today is finished. Thank you very much for your participation. And today we had the pleasure to host Jekaps Kalis Rasnas from Latvia, Marketa Plesnikova from Mladé Ano from Czechia, and
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And Hans Karles from Estonia Reform Party Youth. Thank you. And thank you very much, and see you maybe in future.